All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Training, Learning, and Development community. Happy Thursday to you out there. Let's see. You've got a few people in the broadcast this afternoon here on Pacific time anyway. I guess evening where Meica is at. But let's see. Kim is here and Susan, Quetzal, Cindy, Michelle, Jen. Thanks for being here. All right. So this is a member showcase. And I always love doing these because I get to meet such interesting people, get to chat with them about their backgrounds in L&D and find out what they're all about, because this is a community. And and we have a particularly interesting member to chat with today, Meica Hatters. And did I get that right? I did listen to your little audio blurb on LinkedIn. So I'm like, oh yeah, I got it, Meica.
You did, yes.
Excellent. Meica, thanks for doing this today. So I've got a few questions for you, and it looks like somebody added a question in there too. Oh, okay. We're going to have to ask that one. That is an interesting one that gets all added to the list. And if anybody else has any questions, please feel free to add them to the Ask a Question area. And so, we're just going to dive right into it. Meica, how did you get into this crazy thing called L&D? Now, I looked and I noticed that you started out as an HR generalist, right?
Yes. So I started out in HR at Jockey International in Kenosha. I'm actually based in Wisconsin. And I loved helping people. I absolutely loved it. But I really loved the L&D space. I loved helping people dream and get where they wanted to be. So that's how I ended up here. I understood HR, but I didn't know about the L&D stuff. So once I got a taste of it, I was hooked.
So how exactly did that progression work? Because I occasionally run into some HR folks that turn into IDs, but it's not really that common, I would say. So how did that progression work for you?
That's a good question. So I was able to do kind of a rotational program during my internship at Jockey. So I worked a little bit with the benefits area, I worked with the staffing area, and I also got to work with their L&D area. And at first I was setting up the rooms, and the person running that area at the time allowed me to kind of get into helping him with the mentoring area and build trainings and that type of thing. And I fell in love. Additionally, I'm an enormous nerd, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, and I love school. So when I finished my master's degree, I went into teaching. And I'm saying this publicly live, my very first day was a flop. I was a boring teacher. I didn't know what I was doing. So what I did was I started to research really deeply, and I learned what instructional design was at that point. And I started to kind of put all of the corporate pieces and the higher ed pieces together, and I fell in love with learning and development as a whole. And the academic side of it helped me understand that it wasn't necessarily just great PowerPoints. So that's kind of how I got into it. I could go down a nerdy rabbit hole, but
well, I am wondering, having that HR background, how helpful is that for you?
Immensely helpful, especially in my role at Hohn as a learning strategist. I work a lot with HR professionals who want to prepare their managers, elevate their staff, do that type of thing. So I'm able to kind of speak in the HR language and help them get there. So it's very helpful.
Nice. Yeah, I'm sure that, when I think about it and just having known people in both spaces on the L&D side and the HR side, they just work so closely together. I'm sure that having a background in HR is just get you ahead. And especially with some place like Hohn, which sounds like a really interesting company. I mean, you've got a learning platform. Tell us a little bit about Hohn, because that is very, very cool looking.
Okay, wonderful. And Hohn is a wonderful organization. I started in October, so I'm still pretty new. But at Hohn, we kind of fit into that missing middle that we find in the learning environment for corporate organizations. So we have a virtual instructor-led course catalog where our courses are not recorded. You're not listening to a recording. You're not clicking through an e-learning. You're interacting with instructors that are trained in coaching, so they can see those little nuances and kind of feel out the room and pivot in the training as it makes sense. In addition, we have a platform that allows organizations to scale their training. So we work with a lot of organizations that have one-person L&D teams or two-person L&D teams. So that's another kind of piece. And then my role in it is honestly the funnest. So what I do is I get to customize that training to organizations. So making sure that it's culturally relevant for their organization, making sure that the names and titles of the situations are real. So that's kind of what I get to do. And then we strategize and make multi-year plans to make sure we're sorry, there's a motorcycle or something, to make sure that we are truly helping organizations reach their goals. So, and then we have a platform that provides data and behavioral assessments and other things
Nice.
to do that.
Do you do any of the VILT?
Yep, it's all virtual. Oh, no, I don't.
No.
I
Okay.
try to stay behind the scenes
Yeah,
as
yeah.
much as I can, to be honest.
Very interesting. That's cool. I found myself kind of lingering at the Hohn website
Mhm.
when I went to visit it. And I'm like, wow, this is really, really cool. Yeah, yeah. Sounds very, very fun. I mean, gosh, and you're relatively new there. It seems like you must be learning a lot.
Yes, most definitely. Our organization does move fast, and we're constantly growing and iterating. So I would say that while I'm not, a veteran there, I do very much enjoy it.
Yeah, let's see. Kim's looking for the URL. I think it's Hohn HQ, is it?
Yep, it's honehq.com.
Yeah, yeah, cool. All right, so let's hear a little bit about your favorite part of being an instructional designer or an L&D professional.
Um, yeah, it's hard. I love helping customers make their dreams come true. So when we hear, I actually went to a conference, and one of my customers that we had customized training for. So we went through and made sure it was relevant to their culture, cultural languages and things like cultural language and things. Um, and they came up and they were super excited and had said that their leadership was using the language already after one session. And that is my favorite part. It's the impact. It's seeing things happen. I also like to get nerdy and get into the science of learning, and talk to my wonderful colleagues about that. There's multiple learning strategists at home, so I love being a nerd with them as well, and seeing the program success.
That's very, very. What conference were you at?
I was at HR Transform.
Okay, okay, nice. That's great. And so, Hohn was there, just serving attendees and stuff. Just and you got to participate in that.
Yes. So a number of individuals from Hohn went. We had a booth to share some of what we do. And then actually our people ops team was there attending sessions. So it was a nice time to get together. Our company is remote first. So we
Yeah.
have individuals across the world. So it was nice to get together. We haven't seen each other since December. So a bunch of us were there. Not everyone, but a bunch of us.
Wow. And you're also still currently an adjunct instructor at Madison Area Technical College?
Yes, I am.
Wow. Can you talk a little bit about that? What do you do there?
I teach HR courses. So
Okay.
I'm currently teaching effective staffing, which I've been teaching since 2010, 2011. And I really love meeting the new HR people kind of coming into the HR world and kind of helping them through the process and sharing some of the things I wish I would have known kind of going into it. So it's been a joy to do that.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, Kim was asking if that's where Alan Natachu worked. Did you know
Oh, I
him by
don't
chance?
know.
He's
I
somebody
don't
that's
know.
he's a regular here and
Oh,
since moved on, but I'm not sure if that was the technical college, the Madison Area Technical College that he worked, but absolutely wonderful guy, that Alan.
oh, cool.
Yeah. So, how about some things that you wish you had known when you first started out in your career? Anything that you would like to,
Mhm.
if you could go back and tell yourself when you were just considering like this HR thing is cool, but I want to get into instructional design, stuff that you would tell yourself.
Um, you can't know it all. You're going to have to rely on a team, and have those colleagues and have those networks and communities
Mhm.
like what you've created here.
Yeah.
I think that community and opportunities to kind of talk to one another and learn new things is key.
So when you first started, were you just trying to do everything, you think?
Yeah, I have that habit.
Yeah.
But yes, I definitely was trying to do everything. I thought that I needed to know everything. And then I started leaning on colleagues. I've been part of communities and professional organizations
Mhm.
since very early in my career because I just find so much joy in the sharing piece. And then
Yes.
you're better at your job, right? If you do that as well.
No, that's great. And I would love to talk about that too, because I see that you volunteer with ATD, right? And then what was it? The Online Learning Consortium,
Yep, OLC as well. I have volunteered
OLC.
with.
What do you, why do you, I mean, what do you get out of that? Why is it something that, that,
Mhm.
that you do?
I love your questions. Um, I volunteered a lot with ATD up until kind of COVID changed my life and everyone else's. But I've made so many wonderful friends and connections through ATD, and I've been able to learn so many things that were immediately applicable to my role.
Mhm.
Some of that came through monthly meetings that we would have, but a lot of it came through one-on-one coffees I would have about what are you doing in here and have you tried this and that type of thing. So those informal relationships um, really helped my career, and honestly, when I was doing consulting, it helped that as well. So.
Yeah.
Um, I very much enjoy the community. And then OLC is a little bit more higher ed focused. And with that organization, I did peer review of conference proposals and things like that. And that
Mhm.
really helped me stay fresh in what was happening in the higher ed world, and also understand some of the questions and concerns that I didn't know were questions and concerns because, I'm one person. So that really helped me understand and connect with my students a little bit more effectively. So
That's great. So you've got like one foot on the corporate side and one foot in the academic side, higher ed side, right?
yeah.
That's not typical either,
Oh,
right? So I mean, yeah, I just there. It always seems like we have conversations with people where like, yeah, I
Mhm,
left higher ed to because the corporate side of things was more appealing to me, or the other direction. Yeah,
mhm.
higher ed, I have like this certain level of autonomy, but you've got your foot in both. Is that hard to adjust to, or is it something that you're really comfortable with, or does it help to do you feel like you're benefiting from, you know, having a foot in both sides?
Well, I definitely have a foot in both sides. I would say that like most of my body is on the corporate side,
Yeah.
but I definitely I'm a nerd. So I loved school. I love office supplies. Let's be really honest. Like getting a new pen is an awesome thing for me. So because I've always loved school, I wanted to bring that corporate side to what I do. I teach at technical colleges, as you'll notice, because a lot of these individuals are already in the workforce doing the job or transitioning. And I really enjoyed helping make things real for them
Mhm, mhm,
with the kind of the corporate experience. And not to say that other instructors don't do that. That's part of my passion for learning.
mhm,
Um, and then I would also say I use my higher ed, especially kind of some of the academic approaches, to inform what I do on the corporate side. So for me, it is definitely a shift, kind of going back and forth because how I um, work with our individual customers and how I work with my students is a little bit different. But I guess I hadn't really thought about having to switch back and forth, but I guess I do a
Yeah,
little bit.
no, I think it's pretty significant. Do you mentor anybody right now?
I do not formally mentor anyone, but I definitely have individuals on LinkedIn or in my life who say, "Hey, can we talk about fill in the blank?" And I definitely answer those messages and try to help, but I don't formally mentor right now. No.
Nice. Okay. So Quetzal has a question in the
Oh.
Q&A area, and he's asking, what is a thought partner? And I'm not sure what the context for that is
Mm.
exactly, but he's asking.
I love the question. So, in my mind, a thought partner is someone that you trust to be open and vulnerable with to work through um, concerns. So that might be to design a program, that might be design a course, or work through some type of concern, or take something to the next level. And that was actually one of the biggest compliments I received from a customer at Hohn was that, Meica, you're a thought partner. I really appreciate you. Um, so that's why I put on my LinkedIn because it was
Ah,
such a wonderful compliment. But I definitely do that, and I have throughout my career. I'm kind of one of those people that people enjoy talking to, and then I ask those tough questions and then hold space for people. And I love doing it. So that's what I would consider a thought partner, someone who holds space and kind of acts as a sounding board for you. So
I
does
love
both
it.
of those things.
No, that's great. That is great. I had never heard that one before. I'm glad that there is context for that, that it was on your LinkedIn profile. And it wasn't just some random question from Quetzal. And so projects that you're currently working on, is there anything I'd love to hear about, like at home? What are you doing right now?
So I am working on something really neat. I actually
Mhm.
closed it out before I jumped on, but I'm working with an organization that is multinational. So they are working to customize a diversity, equity, and inclusion belonging course track we have, and I'm working to make sure that it's relevant to another culture that might use different languages, but is interacting with the United States. So I'm working on that, and it's a wonderful experience because it's also a culture I'm not familiar with. So I'm partnering really closely with that organization, people on in multiple nations to make sure we customize it so it truly lands. So
Wow. That sounds like a lot of fun. So you must be learning a ton just by doing that project.
I am learning a ton. It is so much fun, and it's wonderful to partner with passionate people, passionate
Mhm.
about making change, about
Yeah.
teaching and that type of thing. So that's what I'm doing right now.
So you're definitely a learner. I'd like to hear, like, and you've mentioned that, like, I think it was maybe 4 times so far you've mentioned that you
Oh,
were a nerd, but
okay.
how do you stay on top of your professional development, like as your for your career specifically?
hmm I would say that I read quite a bit. I very much enjoy Malcolm Gladwell, Brene Brown, Adam Grant, Simon Sinek. So I read those type of books. I also there's a couple magazines I really enjoy. Um, One is a talent strategy magazine. The name is escaping me, but I'll read Harvard Business Review, TD Magazine, and those type of things to stay relevant. And I also talk to my colleagues internally. Um, we're from all over the world about other learning strategists, so they help me think through topics, and we definitely talk about things. So that's how I stay abreast.
Wow. And then of course you were just at a conference.
Oh yes,
So
conferences too.
was that I mean, was that something, was that a learning experience for you there? Like, were you attending sessions and stuff?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I attended as many sessions as I could. You know how they have them at the same time, so you have to like flip a
Yeah.
coin. But that was a wonderful experience. And honestly, I haven't been to a conference in years. So
Mhm.
I put books and magazines in there to kind of fill that void over the last couple of years. So
Right. That's great. Um, so we hear about all these wonderful things that you do at Hohn, but how about something that is particularly challenging for you at your job?
mm, that's a good one. I would say time zones. When time zones are the biggest challenge, and I can't necessarily change them, but you know, working across all of the time zones in America as well as other time zones outside of America has been a little bit of a challenge, but we all flex and kind of make it work. But I would say that's kind of the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I think it didn't used to be that much of a challenge to me
Yeah.
before, but I don't know, for some reason in the last few months it's actually gotten especially difficult. I don't know if it's pandemic related or what, but
Mm.
for some reason time zones are just starting to elude me, and just kind of have to give into it a little bit and say, well, oh well, just gonna have to miss an appointment here and there. What other kinds of jobs have you worked, Mika?
So I have, like we had talked about, I've been an HR generalist. Um, what else have I done? I've done instructional design, so I've been kind of behind the scenes building the courses. Um, I worked in food service as my first job.
That's the stuff
Um,
I'm looking for.
okay, that's what you're looking for. Okay, so my very first job was bussing tables
Uh-huh.
at a Chinese food restaurant,
Uh-huh.
and I learned one very important thing. If
Mhm.
you drop hot rice on a carpet, you cannot sweep it up. You have to let it dry, and you have to just kind of walk past it for a while because you can't get it up. And if you try to sweep it, you grind it into the carpet, no matter how like low the carpet is.
Yeah.
So, and I mean that was more than 20 years ago, and I will never ever forget that. But it was fun. I ate a lot of food,
Yeah.
met a lot of people, had a great
Mhm.
time. But that was my experience there. My biggest learning was you can't sweep rice, warm rice.
Wow. And you just bust tables. That's and that's it. That's great.
Yeah, that was my
That's
very first job, was bussing tables. Yep.
right. And so if you weren't an L&D professional, what do you think you'd be?
I like to think I would be a writer.
Hmm.
Um, I very much love reading, and I've been taking some writing courses to kind of, calm the brain. Well, I guess use different parts of the brain, but I very much enjoy the communication piece. So,
That's great. That's
mhm.
great. Is it something you've been doing, you know, since you were a kid or anything, or is just writing something that just started for you?
um, So if I told you it just started, my mother would probably say, "Meica, why did you lie on that?"
Mhm.
I was writing poetry, and I have one publication, and my mother has the book on her bookshelf, like it's front center, when I was in high school. But I do, and I see a comment from Kim. I do write not creative nonfiction, so writing about kind of ridiculous things now, like absurdity things that happen. So that's what I do now. But in the back in the day, I did write poetry, and now it's more so memoir and essays, and trying to bring some levity to life, I guess.
Sure. And that I'm sure totally helps with everything that you do. Just having the ability to write is so important for, basically anybody that's in L&D, I would say.
Hmm.
Wow,
And
that's great.
it's fun. I mean, it's a creative process. It's like painting almost. It's a creative process. So.
Right, right. And so let's see, we're getting down to some of the last questions here. How about one thing that people should know about you?
Oh, um, I hadn't given this one thought. And we've already established that I said I was a nerd. I
You're a
really
nerd.
enjoy the Brewers, so I enjoy baseball. You see my baseball scarf. I'm in
Uh-huh.
Wisconsin.
Oh
I'm a Brewer.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
So
fun.
so you think so baseball is the one that you're a baseball nerd? That's the one thing that people should know about you?
I'm not a baseball nerd because if you say that, there's people coming out of the woodwork who are going to quiz me on LinkedIn. So I can't
Uh-huh.
say that I'm a baseball nerd, but I very much enjoy baseball. So that's something that people kind of wouldn't guess about me.
Mhm.
That I enjoy baseball, and enjoy the players and seeing their kind of progress through
Yeah,
different teams and stuff. So yeah,
nice.
that's one thing that people should know.
Now, your as far as your L&D role is concerned,
Yeah.
specifically, like, is there anything that you like doing more than others? The one thing that if you could just do this one piece all the time, what would it be?
I would talk to people and help them build their strategy, a strategy that's truly aligned with business outcomes, because it's so hard from an in my experience with L&D, we're often given these orders like build this training, do this. But sometimes we aren't allowed to think strategically. So if I could do one thing all of the time, it would be to look at kind of cultural nuances, it would be to look at goals, it would be to look at like business strategies and build out a multi-year training and development program for individual contributors as well as leaders.
Wow, that is pretty intense. I don't think I've spoken to anybody else that just really likes to get into that. So can you like get into that a little bit more? So how would you build that out? Would you just is it just something you would document in a Word document or something, or how would you like develop that strategy specifically?
So in my ideal world, I would be able to talk to business leaders, so the chief people officer or the CHRO, and understand what's coming up today and what's coming up tomorrow, and help kind of map that out. And then also work with, once we understand kind of what's coming up, what are the goals, what are the strategies to meet the needs of their customers, and then map skills back to our courses, and that's what I would do. And then also I would build within that strategy, I would talk about, tactical things like how are we going to reinforce the learning? So yes, definitely a Word document, maybe more of an Excel file, multi-year, to kind of look at it. And then I would be able to talk to learners. I would be able to talk to leaders within the organization to see what they need. So I would do a full-blown needs assessment, and then I would build it out from there.
You must really like people.
Oh, I do. I mean, well, I teach. I teach, and honestly, my favorite part of Hohn is like the work I do, but it's the people I do it with. I mean,
Yeah.
to be really honest, we work very hard, but it's not just me doing it. It's
Mhm.
not I mean, it's everyone. We have customer success managers, we have operations people, We have our leadership. I mean, it's not definite in our sales team. It's not definitely not me. And I love the collaboration with them and our customers. So yes, I love people.
Yeah, just I mean, it just this radiates from you, that just you being an educator and just the fact that you want to help others. So, last question:
Mhm.
who or what keeps you inspired?
Oh wow. Um, I would say that I would say that my family keeps me inspired. So like my mother and my brother. Um, my mother has taken care of people with special needs and own her business for years and years and years. And I just see how much love and care she gives to her residents as well as her people, and it's
Mhm.
inspiring because to love that deeply is something. And then my brother, we're 16 years apart, so he's just a baby. He's really not a baby. He's taller than me, but just seeing him and his growth and all of the things he's achieved and overcome and coming into his own, I would say it's my family that I'm like, okay, gotta get up, gotta try a little bit harder. What would my mom do? What would my brother say? You know, and stuff like
Wow.
that in a loving way. So it's my people.
Yeah, no, and that's definitely inspiration. Just to be to think about it in that way. That's wonderful. Actually, I do have one more question from Kim. Asking about Hohn's courses for managers. Are all of them for managers? Are there anything for line workers?
Absolutely. So we offer, well, maybe we offer individual contributor courses as well to build crucial skills like asking powerful questions and building high trust relationships and productivity. So we have a whole course catalog that looks at leaders of different levels as well as individual contributors. So yes.
Nice. Okay, cool. Meica, you must be wonderful to work with. You seem like somebody that would just be like a great teammate. So,
Thank you.
yeah, no, I really appreciate you taking the time out to do a showcase with us. That was a lot of fun. It was, oh, Michelle saying yes, indeed, and Cindy saying she's the best. Yeah, you just
Thank
sort of get that. So I'm so glad you're able to do this. And I'm gonna go ahead. Is it okay if I post your LinkedIn profile in the chat? So
Sure, that would be great. And if Kim or if anyone else wants to kind of hear about Hone or nerd out, I'm more than happy to kind of talk about it. I'm super passionate about everything L&D, even outside of Hone. So
love it. Meica, thanks again. I really appreciate your time. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this showcase. I'll have it posted on the website at some point this weekend. And I really appreciate you supporting TLDC with your membership. And maybe we can have you on as a speaker sometime.
okay, thank you so much. Take care.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.